Did you hear? Huh? Princess Elizabeth and Prince Philip are getting married.
Oh, why don't we go to the royal wedding?
Welcome back to another episode of The Matinee with Forgotten Cinema. I am your host, Michael Field.
And I'm your other host, Michael Butler.
And today we are doing the movie Royal Wedding. But before we get into it, Mike, what is it about?
American sibling song and dance team Tom, Fred Astaire, and Ellen, Jane Powell, are in London in 1947 when all of England is in a tizzy over the impending nuptials of Princess Elizabeth and Prince Philip. Ellen falls head over heels for the dashing Lord John Brindale, and Tom becomes equally smitten with the elegant Anne Ashman. The film features one of Astaire's most legendary dance performances, dancing across the ceiling of a hotel room.
Wow, that's one scene, and they're really gonna hang it on there.
It's a really good scene.
It is a really good scene. So yes, we are doing Royal Wedding. This movie was done in 1951. I guess let's start off. You want to talk about that scene?
Oh, yeah.
All right, well, then go right to it. Go for it.
That scene is awesome. Fred Astaire dances in his hotel room and ends up dancing on the ceiling because that is how Anne has described how she feels when she's in love or when she was smitten with.
Yeah, the song he's doing is You're All the World to Me. That's
right.
Yes.
That's a big song. And so he starts feeling those same emotions. And so he starts dancing on the ceiling, dancing on the walls, hanging on the furniture. And all the while, this room is spinning and he is dancing on all these corners seamlessly. Mm-hmm. It's like a scene from the modern film Inception, but done, 50 years prior, over 50 years prior. And it's just like, how did they do it?
Cool. It's funny that you asked.
Do you know?
Yes, I do. So the actual room, everything is nailed down in the room, and the actual room is attached to a thing called the squirrel cage, and the camera is attached. The camera's nailed down. The cameraman is harnessed, and the entire room rotates. And as it rotates, Astaire is dancing on the ceiling on the wall. So you don't see the room rotate. You are just looking straight on, but the camera and everything is going with the actual scene, which is how you get that, which is fantastic. Now, it looks like there's no cuts in the film, but there's actually like 3 to 4 subtle cuts within the frame because in order for Astaire to get to, what would be his floor, which would be either our side or the ceiling in terms of him dancing.
Right.
There's one thing also that in the scene itself, he takes a picture of Anne that he has and he puts it down, but then he picks up the picture again. So you might, when you're asking yourself, well, that's not nailed down. How did they do that? Magnets, Butler, magnets. Had magnets attached to that photo, and that's how they did it. That scene is fantastic. If there was anything to watch in this movie, if you're just saying like, hey, I want to watch Royal Wedding, what should I watch? That's the scene you should watch. Is You're All the World to Me scene where he's dancing around. That is a fantastic scene. But we want to talk about the whole movie. So why don't we talk about what other things did you like in the movie itself?
I like the room rotating. Why do we have to talk about the rest of the movie is very good. It's very quick. It's very breezy. I like that it's about a brother-sister relationship. I think that maybe is the thing that stands out the most other than the room spinning.
Well, some people have said that should have been more of a father-daughter relationship because
Fred
of the age difference.
Is almost 30 years, exactly 30 years. It's like 29 years, 11 months, 10 days older than Ellen. But I think it still works. I think it's still good. If you don't know that, I mean, yes, Fred Astaire does look considerably older than Ellen.
Here's the thing. It works because this movie is based upon Fred Astaire and his sister Adele Astaire, some loose adventures when they used to be a dancing duo and their travels. Right. So it's based a lot about, and his sister retired from dancing before he became a film star
because she married a British lord.
Because she met a lord and she married. So it's knowing that background, I'm okay with the note that they're brother and sister. So it doesn't bother me.
But I think that's a lot of films of the time. And even sometimes now you get a lot of these disproportional ages in between relationships. But I like that it's a brother-sister relationship because you don't have the typical, ooh, I'm going to fall in love with my partner kind of a thing. It's more, they're just very supportive of each other and they're both falling in love at different times. And it's going to maybe break apart their dance group. And
just to double upon the relationship between the brother and sister in terms of like what it's based on in real life, the scene, the open your eyes dance scene that's on the boat when they're dancing on the boat and the boat starts rocking because it's hitting waves. Like that was legit happened to them on a voyage overseas, but also they shot that by putting the entire stage on a gimbal and it would go back and forth and they would do the dance number on the scene. So again, another behind the scenes where, there's a lot of production value going into into that.
Which
into
is
that
another
scene,
thing
right.
I appreciated.
Mhm.
You know, most dance films, it's about, you know, the dancing. The sets kind of come in and out. It's very play-like. This is something you'd really only get on film. I think this is something that's very unique to film. It's not just, hey, let's film this Broadway musical.
Mhm.
It's very like for cinemas.
If you love Fred Astaire and you love, you know, when you want a song and dance movie, you love all that. You've got plenty of that. There's a scene where Fred Astaire dances with a hat rack. And he's like dancing back and forth, and they had to make the hat rack because he tested out like dozens of hat
90
racks.
hat racks.
Yeah, 90 hat racks, and he didn't like any of them, so they custom made one for him that cost $900. But back in 1951, $900 is actually $9,000 today. So that is a $9,000 hat rack that he danced with that they made personally for the film, and of course, it went missing after the film ended.
The next day.
Yeah, it's gone. So that hat rack is somewhere in LA being used probably as a hat rack, or it's in some basement and nobody knows what it is there for and nobody knows its origin. So if you see the hat rack, give us a call because we'll take it. Did you also know that the woman that played Anne, Sarah Churchill, do you know who her father is?
Winston Churchill.
Exactly.
Which I thought was really awesome.
Yeah, indeed. So that's good. This movie has Academy Award nomination for Best Music Original Song for Too Late Now. So it does have some, you know, this film is in the public domain because a lot of films that in MGM Studio back then were the patent just was like let go.
They messed up. They forgot to re-up the patent.
But yeah, so and I know that sometimes when movies lose their patent or lose their copyright and they're in the public domain, you know, sometimes movies, they don't care. Like people just like, oh, whatever. But
right.
All the movies that we've covered for the matinee have all been good. So these are all movies that like, it was a mistake. It was a mistake that it was just let go and let people, and, you know, it's great because you can watch it for free anywhere you want, but you got to go to Best Classics Ever, of course.
Absolutely.
But it's a real, you're like you said, it's a fun movie. It's, you know, the proverbial Fred Astaire dance numbers are there and that's great. You know, so this is something you'd recommend to anybody that loves old Hollywood, old style.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'd be like, watch this film. Anybody who loves filmmaking, you know, who maybe isn't so much into musical or dance numbers, it's like, still watch this movie. As soon as they get to the room rotating scene, their mouth's going to be agape going, wait, how'd they do that? Are they rotating? There's no way they rotated that set in 1951. But they did. And that's incredible.
See,
and Fred Astaire does such a good job reacting and still, it's not like, like I mentioned before, Inception, where they're just falling over each other. He's dancing and doing this at the same time.
Oh yeah.
In 8 dimensions. It's crazy.
Fantastic. And I'm pretty sure, and I don't quote me on this because my buddy told me this, that I'm pretty sure that the commercial that Astaire did with when they put in the vacuum and he's dancing with it, I'm pretty sure that's from this movie. I'm pretty sure that's from that scene.
Okay.
I think. Don't quote me on that. But you know, we always like to give facts about movies. Always like to learn about like how movies are made and you know what goes into them. You know where else we like to do that? We like to do that on a podcast called Forgotten Cinema. Butler, what's that about?
Segue.
You like that?
Amazing segue.
I want like a segue to come right across the screen right there. What is Forgotten Cinema?
Forgotten Cinema is a podcast about forgotten films that seem to be forgotten by audiences. We go over a majority of films that kind of mostly take place within our lifetime. So from the 70s all the way to today.
This is Quantum Leap.
Whereas I wanted to make a Quantum Leap reference, but I didn't. Last week I was making a Quantum Leap.
You came for Royal Wedding, but you got a Quantum Leap reference. You're welcome.
But yeah, so unlike the Matinee, we're doing a little bit more modern. And then here on Matinee, we do films that are a little older. So we cover the gamut of everything.
Yeah.
Check out our podcast wherever podcasts are available.
And you can find the Matinee at bestclassicsever.com. We are in the Hollywood Canteen section. If you have found us in some other way, maybe we're out there somewhere, go to bestclassicsever.com. Sign up. It's free to sign up, but you can check out their packages and check out. They've got not just the Royal Wedding, but they've got Meet John Doe. They've got a ton of other movies that you can, get to, older films that maybe you've forgotten about. That's why we're here to let you know. It's definitely worth your attention. Bestclassicsever.com. I just wanted to say that again. Mike, you got anything else for him?
Bestclassicsever.com.
All right, we're right on brand there. So I am Mike Field.
I'm Mike Butler.
And this is the Matinee with Forgotten Cinema, brought to you by Best Classics Ever.